What's going on, Mark? What's going on,
Hey,
everybody out
buddy.
there? I feel like it's been a while since we've done this now with the holidays and everything.
I was like blown away when New Year's came, and I just thought, man, it seemed like it's been a month. Well, it's almost been a month, hasn't it?
It feels like it. Yeah, I think we did it the
2
week
weeks.
before. Yeah, I guess it's not quite a month, but it feels like a lot longer. I don't know. The
It really
holidays,
does.
yeah, for sure. The holidays take their toll. How were your holidays, though?
They were really good. We stayed in town, and New Year's Eve, man, was always to me overrated. I mean, I
Yeah,
think back, and even in my drinking and partying days. I think I remember one fun New Year's. They're very overrated. They usually end with a fight or jail, and it just and the good ones you don't even remember. I mean, it's you know
right,
drinking and drugging period are overrated, bro. They
for
really
sure.
are. They're the times I just forgot everything and don't even remember. And a picture told me I had a good time, and it's just crazy to me. But again, maybe you gotta live it to know that part of that side of it, But
Right. Yeah, that's true.
and so it's a crazy thing, but at the same time, very glad to be sober and glad to try to reach out to people during that time and just talk to them a little bit because this is definitely a tough time. I remember my first year. I was 3 months sober. So see, I got out of rehab in September. August 27th is my sobriety birthday. So September 27th is 1 month, and you get out and you go to an aftercare place called Tengu. So September, October, November, December. So I'm 4 months sober, and I remember thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my support team, and I'm going to tell them, let me get drunk for New Year's. Let me party for New Year's, and then we'll buckle right back down. We'll buckle right back down, and we'll just I just want to do it just one time, and then we'll buckle right back down. And even before I went to my support team, I was like, man, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
And I never took it to the people I was going to take it to with my support team, but I did. I mean, I was, getting excited about going out and partying with some friends, and that's exactly what happens. That's what this whole thing's about. It's about staying in the rooms and staying up on your inventory so you don't forget those times that you're hurting and curled up in a bathtub because you're going through withdrawals, and you just don't you forget those things. And time does heal all pain, and unfortunately it tries to fix that pain too. But staying in the rooms, you gotta stay on top of it, man. You gotta stay on top of it for sure, and I do.
For sure. Now, if you did bring it to them, now you're almost 2.5 years sober. What do you think they would have told you had you brought that to them and said, "Hey, I want a hall pass for New Year's"? What would their response have would have been?
I think they would have said no to me. I think they would have said
Sure.
no, Mark, you're crazy. But I really had a good sales pitch. Like, it was at that time, it was my niece and her husband, and we were good friends, and I could just feel that a party was brewing a little. And I think they would have said no, but it was going to be a close one, I think. And looking back on it, a year, 2 years ago, it's actually 2 years ago now. This New Year's 2 years ago, uh, you know, we watched the at midnight exactly 2 years ago. We watched the Bulldogs beat Ohio State. Literally, as the field goal went short and landed, it was a strike of midnight. We didn't know it until I watched ESPN. That's exactly how it went down. And I remember as soon as that happened, looking at my clock and thinking, this is the first New Year's I can really remember. And we had fun, and the Bulldogs won, and I thought, man, I'm so glad I didn't do what my idea was.
Right. Well, it must have given you hope too that, hey, I made it through New Year's. I can do this again and again and again, and you have. So,
Yes, but again, I can see how this time of year it can be tough. It can be
oh
tough.
yeah, I'm sure it's a major trigger, especially like it was for you. If it's your first time, going
Yeah.
through it, or first time in a long time doing it sober.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, let's
How
dive
was
into.
yours?
It was good. It was good. Chris, so lost my father back right before Thanksgiving, so it's the first Christmas without him. But we stayed busy. Just saw my extended family a couple days ago, actually, because we did my wife's side first, and it ends up being like a week-long thing because there's so many
Sure.
families and stuff between the two of us. But
Right.
it was good, all things considered. It was a good time. It was good to see everybody. First time again since losing my father. So
Right.
it worked out well. It could have
But you
gone a
have,
different way.
you have those siblings, right?
I don't know. My wife has two siblings, so we do her side usually the day after Christmas. Christmas this year we went to, well, I guess we went to her other side of the family. So yeah, we kind of split it up. But I'm easy. It's just my mother, and then I've got, let's see, two aunts, one uncle. So pretty small family.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
mom was okay through the holidays?
She was, yeah. Yep.
Good.
She's
Well, good.
she's getting a new dog on what day is today? Thursday. So Saturday she's getting a puppy. So that's
All
what
right.
she's focused on now, which
I
is good.
love
It's
it.
good to have something to, get your mind off of that. So
Absolutely.
I think it'll be good for her.
Stacy's mother has a dog, and buddy, I mean, it is her buddy. I mean,
Right.
they talk to each other, and I mean,
Sure.
it's, hey Benji, she calls everybody, all the grandkids call Stacy G. G's coming over with Mr. Mark, and and I mean, and Benji, I mean, it's like they talk, it's
Right,
crazy.
right.
It's that communication, man. It's I think it's vital. It's vital.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's dive into the first question here. What's this one here from Dusty Lakewood? Buff, I really enjoy how you share your personal experiences and stories on the channel. I'm wondering if you have any cool stories or neat memories from any events in Anderson, South Carolina.
Man, I've got a lot of memories for all of these. Anderson, I got a funny one, kind of, that was the only time this ever happened. WCW in the beginning, it was, we were a bunch of superstars, but we wasn't drawing ratings. We were making money because we were superstars, working for Ted Turner, but really we wasn't delivering. We wasn't forget selling out places. We wasn't even drawing a crowd in the early 90s. So we had to go to these places to do television tapings. And Anderson, South Carolina was one of our places we did TV tapings, and it's right there by Clemson. And I remember it was the only TV taping that I've ever gone to that we had so little of people, we had to cancel the show.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me to be a part of seeing that to selling out the Georgia Dome with the NWO, it was such a ride that was incredible. And to be a big part of it was a lot of fun, man. I was there. I was a part of nobody coming and seeing us, and I was a big part of people coming and seeing us. So it was a crazy ride. But Anderson was a great town for us because it was it was an easy drive. We did a lot of house shows there. Now, a lot of indie shows I've done around Anderson, the South Carolina area, and they always drew real well. But WCW, we do a TV taping every once in a while there. And that one specific time in Anderson, it was the Anderson, South Carolina Civic Center, and it canceled, of course. But I remember we got to go home. And I remember thinking, well, good, we ain't got to work. We just didn't think like that back then.
Yeah.
We were getting paid, and we had some house shows coming up that weekend. It wasn't like we were off. So that night was a night off for us. We're like, hey, we're gonna go home. But really looking back on it, it was like devastating that we should have been more upset, and I know that this isn't a good thing.
Right. So what was the process then? Because you still had to get a taping to fill a TV slot. Did they just do it at another venue and extend the show, to accommodate that?
I can't quite remember. I just remember, which is, you don't hear me say that much,
Right?
but I can't quite remember on that one. I just remember, I remember being blown away that we canceled it, and we somehow made it up with some TV taping somewhere, because we never did a replay on Saturday night. It was always, we either had to add a center stage in, or it could have been right there it was way before Disney, so it wasn't a Disney thing, but it definitely we definitely had to fill it in somewhere.
Gotcha. We got Becky Johnson here. Hello, Chase. Hello, Buff. How's it going, Becky? Thanks for being
Hey,
with us
Becky.
today.
I think
Happy.
I know 2 or 3 Becky Johnsons.
Really?
That's a name that's in my life. I mean, I had a babysitter named Becky Johnson, and that's a name that I know very well. Hey, Becky.
Small world.
It is.
We've got Terry Quick here. Happy 2025 all.
What a great last name.
And so this was the video right before this today. It was the plane ride with Steve Regal and Scott Norton. So that just came out right before we started here.
Did it really?
Yes. Yep.
Man, that is a great one, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A wild one for sure.
Oh, I remember Bischoff calling me and going, Bagwell, I know this is your fault. If you're not honest with me, you're fired. And I said, Eric, I swear to God, man. And the last thing you want to do is tell on your buddies, you know. I mean, my God, I don't think Steve ever really liked me, but I respected and liked Steve Regal tremendously. But he, you know, me and Norton were super tight. But what Steve don't know is I took care of him that whole flight. You know, I cleaned him up and fixed him every time and got him. The last thing in my mind was thinking we were going to do an emergency landing, you know,
and possibly get arrested.
And then get arrested. And then the plane takes off with our luggage. I said, wait a second, man, I got to go to Sturgis.
Right.
You know, I was landing into a 1,000-mile bike ride from a 3-week Japan
That's right.
trip.
Yep. So you had an extra little layover there, but you ended up making it. And Norton was stuck there for a while, I think you said, right?
He had to go. Eric, when he found out I wasn't to blame, he got a private jet for me or something to get to Minneapolis quicker so I could make the bike ride.
Oh, okay.
Because Eric was, I think Eric was the best boss in the world. But you know, he made sure my bike was there and all of our bikes, and we had a mechanic going with us. I mean, it was like a Donald Trump bike ride is what it would be. Just you know, everything
lavish. I got
lavish, everything perfect. Mechanic with us, you know, a trailer if you want to put your bike up and ride, and a car, you know, anything you want to do, you could do. Just really, really tremendously fun. But he got me in. And then my mother, the craziest part of that whole story was this could have never happened if it was after 9/11. But my mother got my luggage through customs over the phone.
Wow.
Over the phone, brother.
Couldn't do it today.
And I was there's no way. I was kind of hoping she wouldn't, and that could be a reason why I didn't have to climb on a motorcycle after 3 weeks in Japan. But when my luggage came through and all the guys came to my room, I was like, let's go, man, let's do it. You know, so I'm so glad I did. It was an unbelievable trip. We had a blast.
Well, it made for a great, and the way you tell that story, you can just you could picture it. You could picture the door opening and, you know, all the winds and the snow out of Alaska. I mean, you really put us there with that story. So it was one of the best ones, I think.
Thank you so much. And I mean, coming out of that thing, I remember thinking, you know, I was in a dream a little bit because I just couldn't believe we were landing. And when I see the window and it's coming a blizzard, I just remember seeing Anchorage, you know, and there's only one place in Alaska everybody knows, and it's Anchorage. That's the only one you know. And I was like, oh my God, that's Alaska. And I was like, what? And I'm trying to put the map together before I can even think. There's police officers at our seats going, get up and get out. And I said, I need to get my bag. He goes, no, you're not getting nothing. Get off. It was crazy.
That is crazy. All right, we'll dive into the super chats here. So first one here, Steven. Buff, I want to touch your stuff for $2 super chat. Well, we appreciate the $2 super chat there.
Well, there you go, brother.
There you go. And then from Joe Cade here, Happy New Year, Buff. Forever the stuff. Chase, you're okay too. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joe Cade.
Joe Cade. Great channel. Check him out. He does some gaming stuff over there. And we've got Askabum, $2 super chat. Who would win in a fight between Rick Rude and Haku?
Man, whoever's asking this question, what's his name?
Ask a bum.
Ask a bum. Well, Ask a bum, you either know a lot more about the boys than I know that you know. But man, I'm telling you, that's a great question, because on everybody's 5 list, Haku and Rude is on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's on it. There's Haku. I don't have a visual of a personal time that I saw Haku go crazy, but the story that I've heard on it, it's too close to home every time, and it equals one handcuff being on and him beating up like 8 cops. And it was, I think, the only time he ever drank or something too. It was like the only time he ever drank, and he's been sober ever since and all this. It's a really, really good story. But yeah, Rude and Haku, to answer the question, man, you just don't know. I don't know, but I just know that would be one hell of a fight. And that would be dirty.
It would be an interesting one.
There'd be some eyeballs out. I mean, there'd be some teeth missing. I mean, people will come out of that one injured. I mean, like crippled, injured.
It sounds like it would be an intense one for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take the time to mention the next video, or one of the next video projects we have, though, because it started here in the live stream that we've done. People have mentioned Eric Watts versus Rick Rude. They brought it to our attention. You reached out to Eric, and we're going to be filming with him in week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. So we're going to get that story for everybody from him, who was there.
And the story is,
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, he beats up Rick Rude.
Beats up Rick Rude. I can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait to get it out of him. I can't wait for him to tell me about it. So the first thing out of my mouth was, where was I at? Because, I was at WCW for 10 years.
Right.
But we couldn't quite place that part of the story, but it's a man, this is going to be, it's a really great story. And it's one I didn't know, but it's one that everybody needs to listen to. It's a really great story.
Well, I'm looking forward to filming that with you guys, and I think it'll be a blast. So,
and what made that story a lot better, Chase, is that when people will hear, is that him and Rick Rude and Eric knew each other a lot longer than I thought.
Really?
I forgot that Rick Rude worked for Eric's dad, so Rude kind of helped raise Eric.
Wow.
In the dressing rooms.
So that's another whole element to the story then. Wow.
A whole nother level that I never even thought about. Is almost like his, one of Eric's idols is Rick Rude. Right. And, and all of a sudden he's trying to be a tough guy on Eric. And he's like, wait a second, man, I thought we were cool, So it's a much deeper story than I thought comes with it.
Wow. Incredible.
Looking forward to that one.
Absolutely. And I mean, it all started right here. So you guys ask questions, and if it's got enough interest like that, and it's something we can go out and find answers to, we'll make it happen over here. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free. That's the cool thing about doing this live. We get to interact with everybody that's watching, and we can kind of figure out, all right, it takes the guessing out of this game that we're playing here, where we're constantly trying to figure out what do people want to hear about,
right.
What stories are they interested in. So it's a great opportunity for everybody here to let us know, if there's more stories like that you want answers to, let us know.
Because I'll get to the answer, and we'll figure it out, and we'll put it on here for anybody that wants to know. Just
absolutely,
we got to know. So let us know.
Perfect. Buff, thanks for all the memories. No one else has duplicated your charisma on screen. Been a fan since I was 14 in 1995. Take care, brother. Great tip on the reverse pyramids in the gym. I get that a lot in the comments here. I see that all the time.
Really?
Reverse pyramids. Yeah.
And you know what's so bizarre about that, Chase, is I've built a pretty good body on never hearing that. And when Lex Luger told me, I said, Lex, you've lost your mind. I said, you can't do that.
It makes perfect sense, though, when you really think about it.
If it's explained appropriately,
right? Like
I explained it to you.
Yep.
If it's explained appropriately, I felt stupid not doing what Lex told me to do. Who don't want to lift the heaviest weight at your freshest time? The only catch is I'm very careful to tell young kids about it, because I'm scared they're not going to stretch and warm up properly
Right.
There's a fine line between warming up and working out. And to me, that 135, 185, 225, let's work out, you just did.
Right.
You just did work out. There's a fine line with working out and stretching and warming up. So we would do, and this sounds crazy, but this is what we would do. It was 135 for 2 sets. And I mean, 2 good sets with 135. I think our first set, we would do the bar. We would just do the bar and let it center our chest and do a couple of reps and just let it sit there and just stretch. And then we do 135 the same way, like 10 or 15 reps, but with 135. And then we'd put 315 on for 8. Now, everybody tells you that you're going to tear your pec if you do that, but not if you warm up, not if you warm up appropriately. So the warm stretch thing without working out thing is the fine line of looking like an average guy or looking like Buff Bagwell. And it was a hit for me with the pyramid thing. I was all in, and everybody's guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of let's do this. Let's do this. Now let's work out. You just did by warming up. You just worked out too much. You worked out too quick. So it's a very good scheme. And we're going to get to that later. Also, we're going to start doing some workout videos.
I'm looking forward to that as well. Let's see. We've got Steven Z again with the $5 super chat. He really wants to touch your stuff this time.
Well, again.
There you go. And we've got Dan Lutzka. What do you think of the finger poke of doom? Should any company do it again?
Any company do it again? No, it's ridiculous. It was really a bad thing to do. There's always a lot more to the stories than we know, but I was there for all of it, and it just it was just it was out of my pay scale, so I was there, but it ain't like I was in the finish room, But it definitely wasn't it was a horrible thing for the business. It was really bad at the time it happened. And no, it should never be done again. And it should have never been done in the first place. I remember early in WCW, way before we were getting over, Sting had to wrestle Rude and St. Martin Islands. And it was during Easter, and we went down there to promote Ric Flair's gyms. He had Gold's gyms in St. Martin, and we went down there to promote it during Easter, and all the guys were mad about it because we had to work during Easter. And Sting and Rude, and top guys, and I was one of the, not top guys, but I was in the top group of card. So me and Scorpio wrestled the Nasty Boys down there. And what ended up being everybody was depressed about, we had a blast on that trip, just jet skis and water and parasailing, and everybody's wives and kids went, and it was a blast, and but I remember I was playing cards with Sting, and Rude was complaining about the finish, and I remember Sting just going, just tell him to beat me. I don't care. I don't care. It was ridiculous where it went in a couple of seconds. And Sting said, I don't care. Just tell him. And then when he told him that, then when he sent it over to Rick sent back, no, just I'll do it. And, and I don't know if Sting knew that's what he would do and but I watched Sting truly just be professional and not care. And at that junction, that don't happen. If somebody brought something to Scott Steiner, he's not going to not care. He's going to care. And he's going to say, I'm not going. And when those egos get involved, and not just Scott Steiner's, everybody's ego, when those egos get involved, it's like, hey, well, I'm not going to get beat. I'm not getting beat. And Sting was above that, and it was really impressive. It just showed that his professionalism is what took him, a long ways in this business. And it was just good to see my guy that I looked up to just say, look, tell him to schoolboy me and beat me 1, 2, 3. I don't care, Right. And then it was really professional.
Now for this negotiation of what the finish is going to be. You're not in the finish room because this is prior. So is this being run between, two different locations, or is everybody in the same room for this?
The reason why this one was weird and a great question is because wherever we were at, whatever arena we were at, we wasn't set up to where we could talk. So when we get like that, the referee runs spots back and forth, and we're good enough that all we need is a couple of spots. Now, if it was a nitro, we would need 3 referees running stories back and forth. But it being a house show, the ref had to go about once or twice for each match.
Okay.
Hey, here's how we're going to start. And the last thing you want to do in a situation like this, with it not being in a finish room, is it get complicated.
Right.
And that's what was so great to see Sting go, look, just roll me up, man. I don't care. And he was a world champion. And one of the messages that came back, Rick said, well, you can't lose, you're world champion. And Sting goes, I know, that's what I'm trying to say, Rick, but he can't talk to Rick. So he's having to send it. And it was really a mess. But in those situations, you've got to send a couple of spots over, and 99% of the time, for reason of just hassle, everybody agrees on the first trip. And it was so ridiculous that Rick didn't want to put Sting over as the world champion that Sting just said, just tell him to roll me up, man. I don't care. And whoever was running the notes said, you're the world champion. He goes, I don't care. Just, I don't want to do this. So just tell him whatever,
Right.
But so many guys, that ego, man. And it does, man. It makes a difference, brother. You get home from Nitro and you go to lunch and, hey, Bagwell, I saw you got beat again on Monday night,
Right.
It bothers us. It bothers us. And we all want to be
Put a
winners.
chip on your shoulder.
It's a big deal. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you just got to look at the big picture, man. The big picture was we made a lot of money,
For sure. Absolutely. Now, this is a funny one because before we went live tonight, you and I were talking about this, in the little backstage area here.
Yeah.
So from Ask a Bum again, how expensive were your hats and stuff? So we'll take this to, we were talking about today what they cost. Let's talk about what they cost back then in WCW.
Well, okay, so the airbrushing was a thing that I didn't believe in. I didn't think it was going to work. When Scott Norton brought the brick wall painting to me, I said, Scott, that's not going to last 2 seconds in the ring, brother. And when it lasted, I was like, wait a minute, you're onto something. So, the top hat, a lot of pieces got thrown into the top hat of where it came from. And I do remember my mother came up with the face on the top. That was her idea. So, getting a guy to airbrush your face on the top of a hat perfectly, it was like $500-600. And then you got the rest of the stuff, the rest of the painting and the lightning bolts and all that stuff. It's not just, you can't just go, and you got a face. You got to have an artist that does my face so it looks like my face.
Right.
And nowadays you could probably make a sticker that goes up there and have a bunch of stickers and make the hat a lot cheaper. But back then it was first class. You're talking about, I'd say the hat was about airbrushed and paid for and everything, $1,200 was what the top hat would cost me to get fixed.
That makes sense.
Then,
like you said, there's a lot of skill that goes into it to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, like just the face was $500, I remember, and then you got the rest of the lightning bolts and the NWO and the buff and all the things. I mean, they got that is like, even my tights, when those were painted, they were painted and then baked. That paint was baked on those tights.
And that's why it wouldn't come out, off when you're wrestling guys and you're sweaty and all that then. Okay.
That was the trick this guy had. He had a trick where you could bake it on and it lasts a lot longer. So whoever I've sold those top hats to, man, they are still in perfect condition,
Oh, sure.
But yeah, but nowadays, that top hats are cheaper. You can Amazon, you can find one probably a lot cheaper. A top hat was something, think about it. You can't remember 2 stores in your entire life, and you're 15 years younger than me, that you saw a top hat in.
Right.
There wasn't any, so having a top hat,
specialty item. Yeah.
Before Amazon, you couldn't find a top hat.
Right.
So to find a top hat, it was very weird and it was a strange deal. And so it was the mystique of that and me coming out with it and putting my face on it. It all worked really well. But And then you put that same hat on Monday Night Nitro and then Monday Night Raw, and it becomes a very expensive hat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But these are my hats here are $75, and that's signed. And then I can ship it to you, mail it to you, and my action figures are 100 signed. But these are just these are just little replicas. They one size fit all. The other hat is we've talked about this. So both of my hats are now gone. I'm going to get a new one right now. I'm in the process of getting a brand new hat. And that's kind of good to talk about here. So any ideas or suggestions of Buff Bagwell's new hat he's getting? And I'm not going to stray too far off of a different hat, but
Right.
but it's going to be different. It's going to be a new one that way. Put it that way, a new one. And they make red hats now. I was telling you, Chase, earlier that when I made this last red hat, they didn't make red top hats, so I had to buy a white one and get it painted red. You got to bake the red on,
Wow.
then you got to put the rest of the airbrushing on and bake that on. And then you got another $1,000 hat, and then. So this company called me, and I can't think of the name of the company. That embarrasses me.
It's not Tops. Yeah, Fleer.
That's it. Fleer. Well, Fleer was the company they took over. They do got a different name now, I think.
Okay.
But Fleer's who they took over
family
and tied together. But they take a shirt from Hulk Hogan, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Buff Bagwell. They take a shirt from one of those three people and they chop it up into 1 million pieces and they put them on trading cards. That's the new thing that you're going to see. So when this guy calls me up and tells me this story, I said, what about chopping up my top hat? And the guy goes, oh my God, that's a great idea.
Absolutely,
So it's in motion. We'll figure out who the company's name is, if you can get with us and send Chase a message, send us a message on our email. I mean, is it email?
Yeah, email. Yep. Marcus Buff Bagwell YT at gmail.com.
At that email address, we'll know the name in a couple. I'll get the name and we'll figure it out. But that company is going to have a Buff Bagwell trading card that's got my t-shirt, my personal shirt that had Buff on the back, NWO, 1 million pieces, and my top hat. And I think all the pieces that they sell come back together as one.
Wow.
And I'm not sure how they do that, but that's what they told me. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I'm excited about it.
Very cool. I think that'd be really cool to just to see like the process of how they put all this together. There's a lot of moving parts to make that happen.
There really is. When he told me, I thought he was joking. And I said, I mean, what do you mean it's on the card? And then he sent me a picture, and it's the piece of fabric is on the card.
Wow. And we've got Elite Legends. Oh, it's Rodney. What's going on, Rodney? Those figures.
Is this Rodney?
It's Rodney. Yep.
Okay.
He's a big fan of the new figures. Actually, show us those figures you got there, because those just came out right before Christmas, I think.
I'm really excited about these because of the packaging. The last one I had, the packaging looked good, but you couldn't see the action figure. Look how good the action figure looks. Look at the and the hat comes off and it fits perfectly. The glasses come off and they go back on perfectly. And you can see the tights. You can see the detail on the tights. The tights look the look of how I look, my facial features are it's uncanny, bro, how good this one turned out. And they got the red tights, and they got the, we'll make a mess here. And they got the black. And so this one don't have the sunglasses, but the glasses, but same, they got the brick wall pants, brother. The best ones.
The best ones.
The brick wall pants. And you see here's the series I'm in. Okay. You got Del Wilkes and Macho Man. And I like how they got both my hands up. I like how they did that.
Yep.
That was
Oh,
cool.
it looks great. The packaging, I would leave it total. I would leave it, you know, boxed up and everything because the box looks just incredible. That looks like a box. They used to make these keychains. WCW did probably 98, 99, and they were like little action figures, but they were keychains, and they looked just like that. The same color
Really?
scheme. Yeah. Yep. Yep. That looks
Yes.
incredible.
But I mean, when I opened it up and I gave one to my little nephew, and the little hat, man, I mean, it fits perfectly. Now, with a kid that young, the hat's gonna get missing pretty quick. But
Oh yeah.
he even tried to put it on. I videoed it. But yeah, so but I mean, it's a really, I think it's one of the best
Oh, by
looking
far.
action figures I think I've ever seen. It looks that good.
Yeah. Your last one, like you said, was great too. But yeah, when you keep it in the box, because the box goes all around it,
Right, you can see
it's hard
everything,
to
you
see.
know?
And you end up with a little reflection on there. So it's hard to
Yeah.
display it. But that looks, I mean, they really knocked it out of the park with that.
Yes, they did.
And then from Just a Nobody, is the Steve Regal video supposed to be William Regal? Yeah. So he was in WCW, he was Steve. Then he went to, and I could be wrong, but I think when he went to WWF, then he changed the name to William Regal.
Yeah, well, no, I think he was Sir William with us too. Remember, didn't he do didn't Bill Dundee came out with him as a little manager, and
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he was Sir William Regal for us.
Sir William.
I mean, he was the Blue Bloods, he was Steve Regal, but I think he was Lord Stephen Regal too for us, I think.
I remember Lord Steven Regal.
That rings a bell. But
Yeah,
the Sir
so
William, I can't quite remember, but
let's see. It looks like he was Steve in WCW. Let me see. I don't know if it breaks it down on here. Yeah, Lord Steven Regal. And I'm seeing Sir Steven Regal too. Yeah.
and that's WCW.
WCW. Yeah.
But this just a nobody. He's asking, is it the same guy, right?
It's the same guy. Same
The
guy.
same guy
But,
for sure.
but he used different names. Yep. Yep. So we didn't mess up the video. He was Steve Regal at that time. So there you go.
Yes.
We try not to make any mistakes like that. Let's see. Watched your Anchorage video. Your mom is quite the loving mom.
Yeah, she is. She was a powerhouse, bro, too. She could get things done. I mean, she managed to get me fired even.
Allegedly. That's
what's been said anyway.
Right. I think that narrative is slowly dissipating though.
It really has, and it's kind of. I wish and hope that Jim will do that with us. You know.
I hope so.
I think it'd be a great video. I mean, it would just be, there's not a bad or good thing out of it. It's just, let me tell you something that I've learned over this past 3 or 4 years, but especially the past 2, is there's 3 sides to every story. There's my side, there's your side, and then there's the truth.
Right.
And that truth, brother, when it's been 20 something years, I've got what I think is true. And then that person's got what they think is true. And there's a lot of memory and life and brains and drinking and partying and all the things in life. Things may get misconstrued a little bit. You go with the basics and you can retell the story. But I would love to relive that and go through the sequence of what happened and why does Jim think it happened that way, and I would love to hear his side of it and just to hear.
I agree. And I think there are those different sides, but with this, there's also so much more going on behind the scenes too, because there's parties telling him probably what to do. And, maybe his recollection's different than whoever was behind him as well. So it's so much more complex with this specific situation, more so than your typical, interaction between just 2 parties. So
absolutely. And it would boil down to the one-on-one phone call he made after the wrestling match in Tacoma, with him, with what he said. This whole video is going to be right here, my side, his side, and the truth, and us talking about it, because that's where the story comes off the rails. That's where I was told something that there was big plans for me next Monday. And that's where the rumor of my mother called to get me out of the shows that weekend. And that's where all that came in. So there's a disconnect at the phone call that Jim Ross called me and told me to stay home and rest my head. We have big plans next Monday. Right. To my mother calling and me just not wanting to do house shows when I just wrestled on TV with 20 staples in my head.
Yeah, there's a lot of play there.
but I would love to get that. I mean, to me, it would be fun.
That's the thing. It's not an ugly thing now. This many years removed.
Yeah.
Does it matter? I mean, it matters because you want to know the truth behind it. But
sure.
You're not going to be angry, either way.
No. So. And again, I tell people a lot, and I used to say this every time I told the story, and I hadn't said it in forever, but I'm going to say it now. Tomorrow, if McDonald's fires you and they don't tell you why, it's a weird feeling, brother. It ain't like, well, it's just McDonald's. Who cares? No. You care. And you should care. This isn't McDonald's. This is the World Wrestling Entertainment. This was the WWF that did this. And I didn't know why. The not knowing why sent me on a 20-year path that I don't know how I survived.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, man. It really is a crazy situation.
I love the take that Stevie Richards took on it.
Stevie Richards had a great video on it. Yeah,
we talked.
Absolutely.
I called him.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
he's doing some great things over there on his channel. He does a lot of videos come out there, and he's got such a cool presence just on YouTube where he doesn't get into the he said she said. He doesn't get nasty with anything. He just gives his take on it, but in a very respectful way. I like that about him.
When I thanked him for his take, he said, "Mark, I just told the truth." And I said, "Nobody else has." I said, "So thank you, buddy." I said,
right.
If I say what you said, nobody really believes it because I'm the one that we're talking about.
Right.
For you to say it and to know that it brings a lot more validity to it. And I said, just thank you so much for doing it. It means a lot to me, and just thank you. And I said, but why did you do it? And he goes, well, I don't care. He goes, the reason why guys don't tell the truth is, and he goes, is because they still are hoping the WWE calls. They're still hoping for one more run. He goes, and I could care less. And I went, well, I'm one of those guys still. I said, I'm one of those guys still thinking they're going to call me. So don't burst my bubble yet. Hold on a second. Hello?
Yep. There you go. Well, here, perfect timing to pull this question up right here. Not sure if this was asked, but would you accept a role at WWE as an ambassador or trainer at the Performance Center? You'd be perfect for that position because you oozed charisma. There you go.
I'm not just saying this now from this question, but this I thought about even as far as 20 years ago. If God said, Mark, what do you want to do in your life? This would be what I would want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to show I want a kid to walk up to me that's got some charisma or an idea, and I want me to be part of making him look better. I hope that I got something in my bag of tricks that increases his popularity. And I think I would be really good at it. I love people. I love talking to people. I love the interaction. I love the business. And I would love to be in some kind of training outfit, psychology, agent, ambassador type situation. And it would be my life, not my life dream, but my second best life dream.
Sure.
Being a wrestler would be the first one, but the second would be definitely that role. I would love to play that role.
I mean, I think that I think it's a no-brainer to bring you into the mix in that capacity, because as Serge Plays here said, you're oozing charisma. That's what I remember you for. light years beyond your in-ring ability, which is phenomenal. But you on the mic, you with Steiner, I mean, you with anybody that you were with, but that's what I think everybody really remembers you for.
Yeah,
And
it is.
a lot of times that's the part that people are fast forwarding. You know, they want to get to the match. They want to get to the match. With you and Steiner, that's what we waited for on
Sure.
Monday night Nitro.
Sure. And, you know, I mean, that was, to me, that was, and I don't know how it became that, but it became the most important part, was the ring entrance. I remember getting to the ring and the hard camera cuts off. I'd get in the ring, I'd do the point of the hard camera, do my pose, and then when I saw the light go off, I was like, because the camera goes to the guy coming out the ramp, and you got about 20 seconds to get your breath back. So when the camera comes back, you're fresh, you know. But man, it was. But so coming out there was, to me, that was the match. That was it, man. It was, and the rest of it is just, you know, eight minutes of a few moves, and you take it home, you know.
Right. Well, you always had memorable entrances. I mean, you and Steiner, but I mean, I remember you in Norton where you'd come out, you'd pose, and then he'd wait for you to jump on his back, and then you'd make the beeline for the ring.
What makes that so magical is in the back, nobody said I was going to jump on his back. You know, you don't, we didn't plan that, you know, you just do it, man. You just do it. And that's how it comes off. It comes off so cool. I mean, what if I had jumped on his back and he fell? What would we do then? But you just don't plan for something like that.
Right.
And if we'd have fell, I'd have made it funny, you know?
Right.
I told you the story before when Eric came to us and said, hey, I want all you guys to come out. We got a new ramp and it's slippery. All the guys, including Lex, they went out to check it out. And I sat there. And Eric goes, what are you doing, Bagwell? I said, I don't need to look at it. He goes, oh, you better than everybody? I said, no, Eric. I said, if I go out there and fall on it, I'll make it funny. I'll make it part of my show. I said, so I don't want to see it. I hope it catches on fire when I step on it. I said, I'll make something creative out of it. Right. I said, but I don't want to see it at all. I never ran the ropes before a match. And a lot of people thought that was an ego and I'm too good, and why are you too good for us? I just didn't want to see anything until I got out there, and then I adapted to the situation, you know, no matter what it was, you know, I adapted to it. And to me, that's where the charisma part of it was fun, you know. So many guys, including, you know, Dallas, when cell phones were brand new, man, he would text you 1,000. Well, back then they couldn't text; it was a fax. He would fax you the whole match on paper, and when the cameras are going to hit. And a lot of guys do it that way. But to me, you gotta just let it happen a good bit on the charisma part of it, and I think 9 times out of 10, if you do that and you know what you're doing, you make it stick.
Agreed. And you know who else would agree? I think Enzo would agree with you there.
Sure. Oh, Lordy.
Now this is actually a good question here from George Lopez. Why do so many wrestlers die from heart attacks? Could you give us some insight on that, or why you think that would be?
Well, I don't think it's a whole lot of insight, but I'm gonna say 2 main reasons. Well, 3: alcohol, drugs, and steroids. You know, those combinations is
tough combo.
It's what athletes do. And but I think for NFL and Major League Baseball and basketball, I think it's less partying, because I really believe the disconnect comes with the season. I believe that not having a season is what made the wrestlers fall off more, because there was never a time to relax, to take a deep breath. Every Monday night, I gotta be Buff Bagwell. Diet, tan, train, hair, mustache, whatever your gimmick is, earrings, necklace, boots. It's never a time where it was off of you. So that becomes taxing after 10 years, and you start needing a little help. And then when you reach for that help, it does help at first, and then it becomes an anchor. And that's what happens. And the ones that are able to get away from it live, and the ones that don't get away from it, I think, die. And I believe the reason is alcohol, drugs, and steroids, which, steroids were drugs too, but still just, testosterone used to be called steroids. Now it's called TRT, testosterone replacement treatment. Now, 24 years ago, if you had that in your system, you got fired. Nowadays, men take it because they need to, because their testosterone is low. So that's how far technology's come, and just knowing what's steroids and a bad thing, or what's TRT. So
Right.
But I do think still it's like an Advil. 2 Advils not bad on you, but 20 of them is bad. So it's like that with alcohol. I think everything got bigger and bigger, and steroids, the amount of steroids, the amount of drugs, the amount of alcohol got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then guys started falling off.
It makes sense. Yeah, there's no off season, so there's no chance to reset. Even if you're doing something wrong, if you're in that repetition of the same thing, the same week over and over again, just different location,
Yeah.
I can see how definitely it would spiral out of control.
Yes.
All right, let's find another good one here. From Mike King, let's get Buff to 100K in 2025. I think so. I think it'll happen, but we'll keep. I think so, but
Really?
we'll keep grinding away at it. We should be at 20,000 in the next couple of days. So, and that's in what, 3? I mean, really, we started August, but really hit it hard September. So that's just 1/4 of the year right there. So I think so.
Cool. I hope so too, man. I was thinking today of just, something we could do that people want us to, that they want to see, and just give the fans really what they want. And that's why I'm, please let us know whatever videos you think will be cool, and let us reach out and get it for you.
For sure. And I saw this one from Mark Hewitt here. Bad day today. Had to put your dog down. Massive tumors in lungs. Well, we're sending you, the best wishes there, Mark. That's never an easy thing to do.
That's a tough one. Man.
It's the right thing to do, though. As tough as it is to go through. I went through that about 1.5 years ago myself, and you got to do what you got to do. Unfortunately, you don't want them to suffer, but it's never an easy pill to swallow there, for sure. So
that's a tough one for sure. We had an older dog that, I think everybody's gone through that before, but ours, same thing. It was, bumping into things and stuff, but it's definitely the right thing to do. Sorry about that, Mark.
For sure. Well, sending you good vibes, though.
Yes.
From Kayfabe here, Buff is an inspiration to all wrestling fans. Well, this is a good time to mention. Yesterday, you did a video that wasn't just Happy New Year's. You also offered advice as well, and I immediately texted you and just said, "This is a great video," and you didn't even realize it, but everybody can say happy, happy Thanksgiving, happy, Merry Christmas, or you also put that extra touch on there to try to help somebody, and I think that just speaks volumes of you.
I appreciate it, man. I think it was just, it was Stacy and me talking, and she was just reminding me, because, keep in mind, Stacy is in sober living. She had sober living homes, from her ex-husband. She got into sober living, and she owns, it's called Stacy's Homes. And so in Cobb County, she's has like 7 sober living houses. And so sobriety and recovery is what she's kind of been a part of for years. And so we were talking, and she was like, this is a really, tough time of year. And I forgot that, because my 2 years, I don't know if it was just I was so ready to get sober or not, but it was a pretty easy sober thing. But keep in mind, 20 years of, being lost, but still was time-wise, I was ready to do it, I think. But just experience, strength, and hope is what you're supposed to share. And, when I first got into this thing, I knew that I was going to be able to tell people my way, that I got sober, and this is how you got to do it. And I couldn't have been further from the facts. Couldn't have been further away from it. It was definitely not that. It was finding somebody that was sober and following their experience, strength, and hope. So I love just sharing my experience, strength, and hope to the one that's suffering outside, man. I hope they can listen in to realizing that this is a better way of life.
For sure. Absolutely. And right here, we have Buff. My introduction to you was a few years ago when you got in hot water for speaking on LGBTQ rights. What made you want to speak out? I'm actually bi.
So, how that all came about was I had a guy that was helping me with my social media stuff, and I knew I was probably the most lost I've ever been. I was very I was drinking a lot. I was probably using more than ever because this is after my car wreck.
Okay.
My darkest time of my life would have been from 2020 to 2022. Those 2 years was, again, I don't think rock bottom, but coming out of it crippled was my rock bottom. It took me getting crippled to get me sober. And I'm reminded about that every single day with my leg. But instead of looking at my leg and being mad or depressed, I look at my leg and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that got me sober. Knocking my teeth out twice didn't work. God was going to make me listen. And by getting my attention, he took my leg away from me and he got my attention. So it got me sober. So I'm thankful it did. But the boy, I don't want to say his name even because I dislike this boy very much, but he actually just was he's actually really good at social media stuff. That's what he does. And so he was keeping my name out there and my name was getting, some things went viral, a couple things I did, and I thought that was cool. And so this way we were going, but we were kind of in it before I knew it, and
right.
It was like, wow, what have I done here? And then it was like, now what do we do? And this guy ended up being, of course, a scam. And he actually put a GoFundMe page up for my mother passing away and stole the money from me.
Wow.
I was like, I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to beg people for money for my mom. And he taught me into why it's a good thing. And he showed me people that had done it. And the whole time he's doing this for him. And so from this action figure was from a company called, it's like it starts with a C. Chase. I can't remember the name of it, but it's not that name anymore. This company bought them out, but the company that this originally started with, Chero. It's like Chero Toys or something like that. They sent me the $1,000, and so he stole the $1,000 from me and my GoFundMe page money from my mother. And I, of course, I had to. And he robbed people online, just promised them all kind of stuff. So if you look out in the world of YouTube and stuff, you'll see that where I had to go out and pay a bunch of people back and send them things that he promised them. And I tried to make good because it was ultimately my fault for having him part of my world. It was my fault. So I tried to right my wrong. And I'm sure there's some people that still, and please, if you're listening and you know somebody that did get done wrong, email us at
Marcus Buff Bagwell, YT@gmail.com.
and we'll correct it. We'll
make
fix
it right.
It now. But I fixed every one that came my way. There was, trading cards I had to sign that he promised, top hats he didn't send that I sent.
Crazy.
A lot of stuff was done that I had to fix. And of course I learned the lesson not to, give somebody you don't know all your passwords, but it was a valuable lesson, and I'd never been burned before. So it got me. So that's what led me to all that. And that then it got me in trouble eventually. So.
Right. Well, I mean, this wasn't all bad, at least. I mean, and I know that you do, care about the LGBTQ community as well.
Yes.
So that was one of the more positive sides of it. But that's one of those things. It's like politics. If you come out in support of, anything, somebody's going to be upset with it. So It is
You know,
what it is. It's at some point you have to be yourself, at the end
I
of the day.
always look at it like you're saying, no matter what, you're gonna get judged one way or another. I remember several times, this is my example of that, several times leaving buildings, and every single time I would go to the fence and sign autographs. And every single time I would get cussed out.
Really?
Because you're not going to sign somebody's picture.
Right.
If I can stay there 20 minutes, I can stay there an hour, I can stay there 2. It ended with me getting cussed out. And so it's just hard to win in those situations. No matter where you choose, there's going to be somebody that don't like the way you chose that way. So I'm a person that believes in, I want people to be happy. And so that's the way that we were going with it. We were going the route of everybody wants to be happy and let's just all get along kind of thing. And I do support the LGBTQ, with what they do. It's what they want to do. And if they're happy doing it, it's hard to argue that. So it's just up to each individual.
Absolutely. I totally agree. From Alex here, was there ever a move you refused to take? And what move hurt more than maybe it looked like it would?
That's a good question. Okay, so the move I turned down, I remember it was I broke my neck, and Jarrett was doing the guitars on our heads. And I of course I was one of the first ones he hit, and for some reason every Monday I felt like I was getting hit with a guitar. And then Luger hit me with one when he turned on me, but the drum of the guitar was real. The guitar part was balsa wood, and it was a little bit softer when it hit you. It was still wood, and it hurt, but it didn't hurt.
It would break into a bunch of pieces.
It broke into a bunch of pieces, and it was professionally made. That way, it wouldn't hurt as bad. But the neck of the guitar was real. So when I turned and fed into Lex, the neck hit me, and it was like, oh my God! I went straight to Eric.
No give to that.
No give, and I said, Eric, please, I don't ever want to take the guitar ever again, please. And I don't think I did ever again. But
and this is after a broken neck too.
Yes. So I said, can we find something else besides messing with my neck, bro?
All right. What else do we have here? So I know the answer to this one, but for Sean here, Buff, who invented the strut you did to the ring?
Great question. That came by accident. I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and the boys, the wrestlers, Sting, and all the wrestlers, they had kind of told me more than I knew. I didn't quite know what I was doing was really, really working. And Sting was like a big fan of mine. We loved each other. So he was like, man, Bagwell, you've got something here, man. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, that kind of thing. Well, we're in Baltimore, Maryland. I've been getting booed for 6 years of my life as Marcus Alexander Bagwell. Boo! Because Baltimore don't like baby faces. And here I come out as Buff Bagwell, and I get cheered. And I go out, and all the boys, Sting got all the boys out of the locker room to come to the curtain and watch my match. And it was me and Norton against somebody. Believe it or not, I can't remember. And that's rare. But I can't. But I remember just, turning me up all the way because I knew the boys were watching. And I did all the spots, the ref shove and getting shoved back, and all the Ric Flair, Buff Bagwell, all the stuff, just went over the rail, had a beer in the front row with a guy. And then on 9, I get in the ring and trip in the ring and spill the beer. And just rare form Buff Bagwell, Baltimore, Maryland. And in there, I get to the back and they're all laughing. The room is just, oh my God, that was great, Bagwell. Oh my God, what made you think of this? What made you think of that? And oh my God, how did you do this? And this thing goes, man, that dance you did. And we're all laughing. I go, what now? He goes, the dance you did, man. And I go, what dance? And he goes, you did this strut. And so Dallas Page always videoed our house shows. This was a house show. And he videoed so he could get better on his mistakes on his matches. So I had Dallas rewind my match back, and I watched it, and I see where in there I do the whole strut thing, you know. And I went, oh my! I said, Sting, I didn't know I did that. And so he was like, you gotta be kidding. So I watched what I did, and then I imitated it in the locker room, and it was funny. And everybody laughed every time I did it. So I made it part of my match, made it part of Buff Bagwell, you know.
It's one of those things like your entrances. I mean, it is your entrance.
Yeah.
One of those things that you're remembered for.
Yes.
All right. So I was first introduced to Marcus Bagwell as Sting's cousin. Can you speak on that? You ever heard that?
I was first introduced to Marcus as, I don't understand the sentence.
So I guess he was introduced to you as Sting's cousin. Was there ever a storyline where you were Sting's cousin, or was that ever said?
So no. Now,
okay.
There was not in a long, long time. I mean, even my mind was off of it right then. But for a long time during Sting first coming down to the ring for me, several times Sting would say yes to this also. Fans thought we were brothers.
Okay.
Now Sting would make the joke like, yeah, sure, I'm brothers with Bagwell. You know, look at us, we both are good looking, you know, that kind of thing, joking. Yeah. But no, we're not brothers, we're not cousins. We never on TV was said that we were, but there was definitely a rumor through the fans that me and Sting was brothers.
Okay. And the second part of that is, do you realize you are one of the most prolific championship tag wrestlers in WCW?
What's the actual definition of prolific?
Memorable? I don't know.
Good question.
Let's look that up.
Let's look it up. I mean, I think it means great, kind of, but I don't know the actual definition.
Let's see. All right. Let's see. That doesn't look right. Present in large numbers or quantities, plentiful.
Okay, so positive, good thing. Okay, so prolific, yes. The answer is yes, I do. I think it's definitely the best thing on my resume, I believe. By being a world tag team champion 5 times, and to do that with 4 different people, it says one thing. It says that you have to be pretty good because of the different styles I had to get used to. Scott Norton is nothing. Well, Scott wasn't one of my guys, but he was a tag team still. I always think me and Scott won the belts, but Shane Douglas and Too Cold Scorpio are sunshine and moon. Different.
Yeah. Completely different.
Scotty Riggs and Dale Wilkes are like planet Mars and Earth. It's just totally different. So I had to adapt to each one of my partners, and I loved it. That was so much fun for me. It would be like an actor taking on a role, but not as hard as, like, you know, these actors do when they're playing a doctor or playing somebody sick. It ain't that hard of a role. I'm not trying to make it cool, but I had to change some things to make it work, to make it cool, to make the outfits that I came up with for me and Scotty, the outfits that I came up with for me and Too Cold, the outfits that I came up with for me and Stars and Stripes. You know, these are outfits that I created for both of us. You know, that's, to me, that's part of all of that's part of diving into that guy and becoming friends with him and knowing that we're beyond just, hey, let's clock in and go to work. We're partners, man. We're partners. And to me, that is the biggest part of my resume, is 5-time champion with 4 different dudes. So thank you for that. And yes, I do know that. And I'm very proud to be a 5-time champion with 4 different dudes.
That's an incredible achievement for sure. From Alex here, of all the rings you worked in, what was your favorite and what was your least favorite that you can remember?
Yeah. So my favorite ring, we WCW rings were 18 foot. And they were just differently made. A lot of people don't know this, but like the ropes, the WWE, they're actually a rope. It's a rope, but your WCW ring is a steel cable with garden hose and duct tape around it. And you can imagine at 250, 240, whatever your weight is, running into a steel cable with your ribs isn't exactly fun.
Doesn't
It
sound
was
like
the
it.
hardest thing for me to get used to, but it made you faster. So WCW rings were fast. Scott Steiner was the fastest. I used to love watching him hit the ropes. Um, when you were going to throw a drop kick with Scotty, you had to start throwing your drop kick from the moment your head comes up. You're already in motion to throw. You just got to throw it, because you throw it, he was going to be there, and he was there every time. But it's a very fast ring, and WCW matches look faster because of it. That's why the WWE would do a lot of in the middle of the ring and shoot you off, because it was 20 foot,
Okay.
20 foot and a rope. So it was a little bit slower. It was a slower type ring. Guys had a hard time coming to us. And when I went up there the one time, it was tough for me. It was different. It was 20 feet. It was huge, man. 2 feet is a lot. And I went to school and stuff, but still it was, that's much different when you get on live Monday Night Raw, main event. That ring looks really big. And so it definitely blew me up, and I wasn't ready for it. But I do like the WCW ring much better. I love 18 feet. I'm not sure what guys say. I've never heard this question asked, but I would think Kevin Nash would probably like the 20-foot better because he's bigger.
It's bigger, yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe not. I just know a lot of guys seem to really like WCW rings. Again, I wasn't there long, but the rumor was that the WWF WWE ring was much stiffer than WCW's rings. But the stiffest ring I ever wrestled in one time was we had to wrestle on a house show for WCW in a boxing ring. And it was just like wrestling on the concrete. It was brutal.
Yeah. Wow. Now, do you get more tired then in a WWE ring than you would WCW because of that 2 extra feet there? If you're running ropes and
absolutely.
Okay.
Again, I only did it once, but I wasn't ready for it. Like if you really watch, even though there wasn't any mistakes in the Booker match, you could see where it was a little awkward bumps and not quite where I needed to land. And it was definitely not a crisp Buff Bagwell match. It was not. But that 2 foot's a lot, and you put 2 foot with the rope, and it just ain't quite as quick. So it was definitely something to get used to for sure. And even that 4 or 5 days in the ring down there wasn't enough. We should have did a little more.
Yeah. Well, in that case too, it's both of you guys that are coming up from WCW. So it's 2 guys that aren't used to it, 2 guys that are,
Right.
Going through the same learning curve,
Yes.
in that situation.
Absolutely.
So maybe it would have been better had they matched you with, somebody that was used to it and vice versa. But
absolutely, it should have been.
From Virgil Dawkins. Hey, Buff. Love you, bro. I'm glad you're doing good, looking healthy again. I noticed on Instagram you and your new wife have like 10 grandchildren. How do you like being a granddad now? That's a great question.
It is a great question. I'm trying to figure out what my name is going to be. I think it is. I think we're going to do. I don't think we'll ever get over Mr. March is what they call me. So have I told you this story?
Yes. Yes.
So they got a little slur in their words as kids. So they call me Mr. March and instead of Mr. Mark. And Stacy don't want to correct them because it sounds so cute. But I think unfortunately I'm going to be Mr. March for the rest of their life. What I want to be is I want to, Stacy goes by G. I would want to go by B. and not because of Buff. It would be because of Bagwell, but the B.
Right.
You know, that way you got G and you got B. Hey G, hey B, hey G and B. You know, I think it'd be cool. I'm gonna try to switch them over to the B, but I think I'm gonna be Mr. March.
Yeah, well, they're creating those memories with that name now, so it's going to be a tough one to break. I think you're right.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's set in there already. And Stacy's got. I mean, we've got 2 more on the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right, so you got to break the cycle now. So you have to push B
Got to push the
instead,
B,
and hopefully the younger ones will take to it, and maybe that'll push people in the right direction.
Absolutely. I got to start switching it around to that B. Get that B
There you
going.
go. I'm rooting for you.
I'm gonna need it.
And for we got you on that one. Appreciate the support. We already hit you on the first one there. What else do we have here? We've got Retro Rob. Happy New Year, Chase and Buff. Stay amazing. Love it. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Retro Rob.
Retro Rob. And we've got Virgil here again. I've heard of guys wrestling hurt, but can you tell a story of a time when you or someone else wrestled sick or with a migraine and what that was like?
It's a great question. And going off what we talked about year round, the first thing that came to mind, and I've got the city now, Austin, Texas. I couldn't tell you the exact year, but Stars and Stripes. And Mike Graham, a guy that wasn't a big fan of mine at all. Man, I mean, let's back up. I mean, borderline hated me. He was an agent that still wanted to be one of the boys. And so I was the closest thing to him having a job. And he would always like give me a hard time,
Okay.
But he would, instead of helping me, he would like kind of be against me. He was short. He was a tough guy. He was bad. He was tough, but he was 5'6" or 5'7". He was an older man. He just wasn't ever going to make it in wrestling again, but he was Mike Graham, the Grahams from Florida Championship Wrestling. He was tough. He was great in the ring. He was a great talent. It was just, he wasn't a Buff Bagwell, and he wasn't a Marcus Alexander Bagwell either. But instead of being my agent and help me, he kind of was hard on me, in a bad way. But this night, Austin, Texas, we had went out and party, but I didn't really party hard, but as Mark, I just didn't do it a lot. We'd had a few beers and we had call it a night and go to the gym the next day. So Mike was with us and he knew it wasn't a hungover thing. At the show the next night, man, I am pasty white and was throwing up in the dressing room. And Mike Graham, the guy that wasn't a big fan of mine at all, from his heart genuinely walked up to me and said, "Hey, brother, I know you're really sick. I can see it in your face." He goes, "Just take the night off." And I said, "Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that." And then I was overwhelmed with, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. If I could, my tights were, now if I had to put my tights on and all that, I may not have done it, but my boots and everything was on. But if somebody's got a recording of, hello? If somebody's got a recording of that match in Austin, Texas, they're going to find out. They're going to see a real white, pasty face of me. And I can't remember who we wrestled. I'm almost positive it was the Nasty Boys, but I'm not positive. And I remember after that, Mike Graham was good to me. He saw that I could have took the night off, and instead I sucked it up, went out, had my match when I was genuinely sick, and I pulled it off, and Mike was in my corner from that point on.
Wow. Yeah, I can only imagine having to go through all of that when you are sick like that. I mean, unreal.
But again, year round, there's going to be times that you're
sure.
You don't feel. I mean, look at me.
Right.
I broke my neck on live television. I mean, things happen, right? I mean,
I've heard
I've heard of stories where guys, pooping on themselves.
Yeah.
They take a slam or something with upset stomach, and
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it, but I've heard mistakes like that, and whoopsie daisies. But it's definitely a horrible feeling to know when you're out there and you don't feel good, and all the eyes are on you, and
Right.
it's not a good feeling for sure.
No, certainly not. And I saw this one here. What were your thoughts on the last Nitro from March 26, 2001? We have a full video on that. That is pretty in depth. I would definitely watch that because, man, that would take us to the last few minutes of our show tonight.
Yeah,
it's a long one.
It is a long one. Please tell them again about the video because they do need to check that out because I go in depth with it.
Absolutely. March 26, 2001, the last Nitro ever. You got to check that one out.
So look at this, Chase. I found this in the back of a, Vinny that helps me. Vinny that helps me some.
Mm-hmm.
I found this in the trunk of his car, and these things mean something, man. Look at this. So it's this picture. One of my favorite pictures. I love pictures with the crowd in the back, and not knowing that the camera's on you. Nobody's saying, "Hey, 3, 2, 1, look here."
Right.
I'm ready for the camera and don't know it's even on me. So that to me, that shows that you're a professional. You're ready no matter what.
Sure.
So I love those kind of things when you're ready for that and not know it's coming. But then I saw this. It's wow. It's some kind of big deal, man. It's a numbered deal that I don't know what it is, but I mean that's that. What do you call it? Like authenticity.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Only a limited run of those, I'm sure. Then. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know. Again, they were in the back of Benny's trunk. I'm like, give me those, man. But they're real thick, and they're just real professional looking. There's something to that. I don't know. It's numbered and everything. And this is the name that I couldn't get them to go with. I couldn't get them to just drop
Bagwell.
Marcus. I wanted to be Buff Bagwell, bro. Buff Bagwell. And Turner would not drop Marcus. He wouldn't do it. No.
Well, I think it was good for you in the long run, just because it kept your real name out there as well.
Yes.
And you always had rights to your real name. So
yeah, I feel I do like saying my whole name better. It's just more professional. I think Marcus Buff Bagwell. I am glad that it was like that. And maybe Turner knew that. Maybe that's the reason why they did not want to lose that name.
Right. This is a good one here from Anthony. Stars and Stripes versus American Males. Who would win that matchup in their prime?
That is a great one. Oh man, I mean, I think it's pretty easy actually. I think Stars and Stripes would win.
Really?
Dale Wilkes was tough, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Dale Wilkes was a big, tough guy. Scotty could hold his own, but I think Dale could take Scotty. I think I've told the story on a couple of our things we've done, but that run with the Stars and Stripes, it didn't have the luxury, or it didn't have the impact I wanted it to have with having Jim Duggan in our company at the same time. You can't have two. I love Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. He's a good friend of mine. I would exchange any of the fun times we've had in all these cities, matches we've had, but us both doing the USA thing, it took away from Jim and it took away from us. It just took the impact away. And we're on an overseas trip where the fans love to chant USA, and they did it 2 times and they loved it, but it just took it a little bit away doing it twice.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I really had a really fun time coming up with the Stars and Stripes gear. Dale Wilkes gave me the run of that. All he asked for is, if you notice, is Dale was an old school guy. he liked the tight and then the short tights over it.
Okay.
If you notice that he didn't just have tights, he had tights and then the shorts over the tights, like the older wrestlers would do.
Yeah.
And like the trunks over the tights. And I tried to talk him out of it. I said, Dale, that's old, man. Don't do that. And he would not say yes to that. He goes, no. So I had to get our seamstress to do his trunks like that also. But I came up with the scheme, and I got that from a wrestling fan. He sent a cool picture of me and Dale in some tights, and I sent that straight to my Susie Tennis was her name. She did me and Sting stuff and a bunch of other guys, but and she, put the flag where it was and the stripes, and we came up with the boots, and it was just a lot of fun being, USA, flag stuff behind you.
For sure. And I saw another one here. Where is it? From AJ's. Do you think WWE will ever induct you into their Hall of Fame?
That's the best question of the night. And the answer is yes, I do. I hope so is the answer, really. I hope and pray, actually, they do. I would love to be a part of the WWE. I'd love to be on that umbrella. I'd love to have some kind of legend deal or whatever, or like somebody said earlier, working where I'm helping the boys or helping the school out, some part of being under that WWE umbrella. I'd love to be part of that. But I do think because of my age that I've got a chance to be in the Hall of Fame. But only because of my age. I just thought about this yesterday, ironically. I'm watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and Ozzy Osbourne, they had to push him out in a chair.
Really?
And the only reason it wasn't a wheelchair is because they just made it look better, but he couldn't walk out. He was in a big bat looking chair that was cool, and he thanked everybody, but he could not stand up. And they sang a couple of his songs and inducted him. But again, he was older when it happened, and then
right.
You had 30 or 40 years on it, and you're lucky to be alive when you make the induction. I do believe that because of my age, I do believe that the 20 years I blew, I believe will be corrected before I die, that I will definitely see. I wish it was sooner than that, of course, but I do think that I will be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I hope so. I do think I deserve it. I think I deserve it career-wise. I think I've done enough to make the Hall of Fame. I believe my resume speaks for that. You got Rookie of the Year, the 5-time with 4 different guys. You got NWO member. You've got a good run at WCW. I really believe I make the resume part of it. But it's more to the Hall of Fame than that. You got to be a good person and show that you're a good human being. And I'm on that right path now. But I do believe that eventually I will be accepted, but I just hope and pray that I will.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're definitely on your way to that already, but yeah, everything takes time, and they don't move quickly with the Hall of Fame, it seems.
No.
So we'll do 3 more questions here, and then we'll call it a night, guys. Appreciate everybody being here with us. Let's see. Did you ever get to work with Curt Hennig, and did he ever rib you?
Oh, so Curt Hennig has a thing he does. He will give you pills and party with him if you do them a certain way. So Curt Hennig would have these pills, and he called it Rainbow Stew because every pill was a different color. And if you took his Rainbow Stew and you threw them in your mouth and you gargled with a shot of Jack, he would give them to you. And of course, I took it on, and I did it, and I managed to do it without throwing up. But I would never, ever, ever do it again. It was, I mean, right now I'm gagging thinking about it. So yes, and it wasn't a rib, so to speak, but it was, you know, he, you know, was, you know, wanted to see me suffer a little bit to do the pills with him. But he could do it easy and laughed at all the boys and all that. The other thing he did to me, which I thought was fantastic, was we had a scene setting up me wrestling him. I wrestled him on a career-ending match or something. Like it was, if he lost, it was a career match.
Okay. Yep.
It was. I remember what city it was in. It was in South Padre, Texas, South Padre Island in Texas at that at that Nitro on spring break. And I wrestled him. And I beat him on Monday Night Nitro. I beat Curt Hennig on Monday Night Nitro, which is, you know, unbelievable. I was, you know, thankful to God to do that. It was to get that kind of respect from Curt, but to shoot the promo going into the match, we were going to do like a pull apart fight. And to start the pull apart, he open hand slapped me hard enough that I wanted to fight. But Curt is like Rick Rude tough. He's not in nobody's top 5, but he's in my top 10. I can tell you that. Yeah, Curt Hennig and all them, the Hennig and Norton and the Road Warriors and all them, Jesse Ventura, all them tough guys went to the same schools up in Minneapolis that played ball against each other. So they all like partied together and was at different high schools, and just all those bad, tough guys came from the same little area. And so Hennig was tough, and we started that and he slapped me. I mean, it almost knocked me out because it whipped my neck, and I had to continue the pull apart. And when it was over, I said, "You son of a," I said, "You gotta be kidding." And he goes, "I just wanted to fire you up." I said, "You almost knocked me out." So, and I think he may have been trying to do that just to get one in on me. But yeah, keep in mind, nobody wants to, you know, like I said before, nobody wants to lose on Monday Night Nitro. So it ain't like he was excited about it.
Sure.
So he wanted to get that little slap in before we started.
Wow. And from Ryan Brown here, definitely late to the party. Does Buff remember an enhancement tag team in WCW called Disorderly Conduct? I never heard of them after WCW.
Wow, I do remember, but I couldn't tell you who it is. So I wish you could tell me who it was. Disorderly Conduct. I remember that. I can't remember who it was, though.
Let me see if I can pull them up here. Let's see. Disorderly Conduct, WCW. All right, we got it. They're from Milwaukee, and we've got Mean Mike was one of them, I think. That ringing any bells? Mean Mike.
No. And who else?
That's the only one that comes up here. Teaming with Tough Tom. Mean Mike teaming with Tough Tom.
I don't know the names. I can't pull it
Mike
out.
Moran is Mike, but I don't have a name on.
Wait
Tough
a minute.
Tom. Mike
What
Moran.
What's Stevie Richards' shoot name? It's something like that. Does it look like Stevie Richards at all?
It does not.
Okay. His name's
Stevie Richards was Michael.
Michael
Man. Okay. Yeah, it's not him.
Yeah, I don't have to see their face to kind of know for sure, but yeah, I definitely remember that name.
Definitely bigger than, at least it seems bigger than Stevie Richards would be.
Yeah.
All right, and we got another one here. Where'd it go? Any RVD stories? Now, did you ever work? Because RVD came into WCW briefly, early 90s. Did you ever work with him in WCW?
I did never. I remember him coming in, and I remember Bill Watts was the boss. Okay. Bill Watts is who was part of bringing him in. But I never, to my knowledge, I never wrestled a match. I don't remember if I did. And he was there, but it just don't sound like he was there very long.
No, I think I want to say he went to Japan, and I think that was his big pull at that time. And
Yeah,
then he came back and of course went to ECW.
right.
Yeah, I think when I talked to Rob, I think that's what he said. He preferred to be in Japan and he was making more money there. He wasn't making much at WCW. Now, did you ever cross paths with? I know you know Rob, but did you ever cross paths with him in WWF when you were there briefly, or on the Indies maybe?
I didn't. I didn't. We always have been friendly with each other, but we really were never around each other. Never.
Gotcha. All right, we'll do one more. Let me see if we can find a good one here. You could touch on this one, I guess. Were you friends with Randy Savage? We, of course, know your match with him. I think you tagged with him a few times as well, or did a
Yeah.
few tag matches against him. Were you friends with Randy, though?
I really was definitely considered good friends with Randy. You know, he was a different guy, you know, but I can tell you that, believe it or not, as cool as the Macho Man Randy Savage is, only the boys know this, but let's just say the fashion police were all over him. It was horrible what he would do with like jeans and a shirt, and his sneakers were, he just wasn't cool. He didn't dress cool to go to a club.
Okay.
And so when I hung with him, I gave him a cool one of those skin tight black shirts with a zipper about this big that you've seen on 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
I had every color in it. And I gave him that shirt one night just to go to the club with us, and made him go buy some boots. But every time I saw him after that, he had on the black shirt. So it worked. He needed to switch it up a little. He just, and it wasn't like he didn't care. I really feel, if I remember correctly, it was really like he didn't know. Like, I was blown away that the Macho Man with all the tassels and the great boots and the great tights.
Yeah.
I was like, brother, did you look in the mirror before you walked out of your room, brother? And he goes, what do you mean, brother? I go, here, man, wear this shirt, you know? And I gave him a shirt. He looked great in it, you know? The problem is I saw that shirt 100 more times after that.
Well, he really liked it. He really liked that
He really
shirt.
did.
And was Randy, did Randy get along with Hall and Nash? That's the second part of that question.
You know, I never saw them together, but Randy was hard to get along with, period. He just, you know, I think people liked him, but you just never knew where you stood with him. He was
Tough to read,
different,
yeah.
bro. He was very, very emotional with things. Like if you, like when I did the wording on my interview, he beat me up, you know, in the ring. He just took this business very seriously. And, you know, if you would go out there and take a couple of jabs at him on the mic, you know, he took it to heart. And, you know, he was always seemed to be, you know, upset with some stuff the guys did. And, you know, but he was, you know, Nash and Hall, he was NWO. So that helped a lot, you know, that they wasn't against each other. But I don't remember ever hearing, you know, too much heat with anything with that.
Good. Well, all right, guys, this was a great, what did we do today? Almost 2 full hours. So this was a blast. Really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. And if we didn't get to your questions, save it. We will be back in about 2 weeks or so. We try to do this bi-weekly. So I'll be out of town next week, and then I'll actually be in Atlanta filming with you. We're going to do the videos that we talked about earlier in this.
Yes.
So looking forward to that. And we should be good around the 16th. I'll talk to Mark and we'll confirm that, but somewhere around then at the, you know, at the least, maybe we'll even try to do something together, you know, side by side when I'm down there. Maybe we'll move it up a day or something.
Hey, let's definitely plan on that.
Okay.
Chase.
We could do that then.
Yeah. We'll
all right.
definitely do that.
It'll be I'll give you guys this. It'll be somewhere between the 13th and the 16th then. And we'll do it, you know, in the same place in Atlanta, and we'll have some fun with it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you guys so much, man. And please let us know if there's something you would like to see, or somewhere we could, you know, something we can give you guys, because we'll go out and we will make it happen.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Take care, guys, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.